Okay, now that Thanksgiving's over, it's time to talk Christmas. There are tons of movies that take place in winter around Christmas, and here are some that you may have missed. Wind Chill. Long before A Quiet Place, Emily Blunt starred in this very small, intense horror film. Wind Chill's a 2007 horror film from director Gary Jacobs. Two college students that don't know each other share a ride home for the holidays. It's snowing really heavily, and after a near collision, their car is stuck on the side of a deserted road. As if that wasn't bad enough, on top of dealing with the elements, they also have to deal with ghosts. This was a neat little movie. Here are these two characters that don't know each other. In fact, we don't even know their names. They're just guy and girl. After the crash, they're already dealing with the elements, which was bad, but then the ghosts of people who also died in the area arrive and make it worse. While I would have preferred the movie have them stay in the car and make it about them trying to survive the elements, I understand that doing that for an entire movie would have been difficult. Single location shoots are hard, and having it somewhere like a car would be genuinely hard to pull off. Although Buried was able to make it work, and that was just Ryan Reynolds in a box. So it's not impossible, just hard. Thankfully, the addition of the supernatural element was well done and made the movie sufficiently creepy without overdoing it. It added another layer to the film and helped keep you engaged. Wind Chill is currently streaming on Roku and is available video on demand. Await Further Instructions. Await Further Instructions is a 2018 horror film from director Johnny Kevorkian. A dysfunctional family is gathered to celebrate Christmas when an unknown force has them trapped inside of their house and starts sending them instructions through the television. I really enjoyed this one. The family was already at war with one another, but then this mysterious black stuff arrives and makes a bad situation worse. As the hours tick on, their sanity and cohesiveness starts to break down and they turn on each other. They get these bizarre orders through the TV, and while some of them know something is wrong, a few of the members of the family feel it's necessary to do as they're told, no matter what. Everyone in the house can hear that something is happening just beyond the black barricade, but they have no idea what. That was what made this movie effective. It gives just enough information to keep the family and the audience hooked. Little by little, they're sent instructions through the TV, but some in the family have doubts and think they're being manipulated. Is this some experiment? Is this a terrorist plot? Is it aliens? Being trapped in the house really sets everyone off, and the cast did a very good job of making it believable. It starts off slow and then ramps up into full-blown paranoia. This feels like something that could have come out during the Cold War era. Kind of like a Twilight Zone episode turned into a full feature. Everyone does a great job, and while the budget was obviously low, it didn't impact the effectiveness of the film. Without spoiling anything, the movie has one hell of an ending. The movie's on Amazon Prime, Tubi, Shudder, and lots of other places. This one is easy to check out. On a very sad note, in 2020, the director Johnny Kevorkian died of a heart attack. This was his fourth film, and he showed a lot of talent as a director. I'm sad we won't see anything more from him. Dead End. Dead End is a 2003 horror film written and directed by Jean-Baptiste Andrea and Fabrice Canepa. The movie's about a dysfunctional family driving home on Christmas Eve. Another one. The father takes a shortcut, which places them on this mysterious forest road that never seems to end. While the film succeeds at being an effective horror film, much of that success is due to two of the leads. The father, played by Ray Wise, and the mother, Lynn Shay. Their acting talents bring this small film to another level. I won't say elevate, because elevated horror is a bullshit term created by people who think that horror movies are for stupid people. The movie's a good mix of supernatural weirdness and some very dark humor.
Laura! I'm just kidding!
The movie was nominated and won a bunch of horror festival awards. It initially was released in the theaters in the UK and had a very small release in the US before going to home video. It's currently streaming on Amazon Prime, Tubi, Shudder, and lots of other places. Silent Night, a very loose remake of a classic, controversial horror film. Silent Night is a 2012 horror film from director Stephen C. Miller. Silent Night is the best kind of remake.
I've said it before and I'll say it again.
The best remakes are the ones that take the basic framework of the original, or the initial idea, and do something completely different with it. Silent Night takes the concept of Killer Santa and delivers a completely different film. The movie's about a crazed killer who murders people in a Santa suit around Christmas. It then focuses on the sheriff and the deputy who are trying to stop him. The screenwriter for the film never saw the original, and so he just wrote the script based off of his ideas for a Christmas-themed horror film. While I don't exactly agree with not seeing the original, I can't criticize the outcome. They were able to make an effective Christmas horror film with a killer Santa that wasn't influenced by the original. This made it stand out as its own thing, as opposed to being an inferior version of the original. You can watch both Silent Night Deadly Night and Silent Night and have two different experiences. While the movie has all new kills and a completely different plot, it does manage to squeeze in some jokes and references to the Silent Night Deadly Night franchise. The biggest is probably this one. Much like the original, the kills were brutal. Santa with a flamethrower is just awesome. There's also a good bit of dark humor in there, with Malcolm McDowell as the sheriff who has just about had it. He's the best character in the film. The movie had a small theatrical release in the US. A few weeks later, it was on DVD. The movie is an absolute blast, and despite the fact that Santa is torching people with a flamethrower, it somehow manages to put you in the proper mood for Christmas. It's festive, fun, and the seriousness and silly work in tandem. It's currently available to stream on Starz and Video on Demand. P2. P2 is a 2007 horror film from director Frank Calhoun.
It was co-written by French director Alexander Aja,
who started working on this all the way back in 2003 after the release of his film High Tension. The movie's about a woman trapped in a parking garage with an obsessed security guard on Christmas Eve. The concept for the film came about because of a news story from the time. In Paris, a series of women were being targeted and assaulted while alone in parking garages. The producer liked this because it gave him a chance to explore survival aspects within a movie. While the movie mostly takes place in the dark recesses of a parking garage, they kept the Christmas vibe going by including lots of Christmas music. Tunes like Santa Baby, Blue Christmas, and Deck the Halls are a reminder of the time frame. The movie was released into theaters by the company Summit Entertainment. This was the first feature film they distributed. Although they didn't have a lot of money for the marketing, and the film did very poorly. On a side note, a year later, Summit released Twilight, which went on to be a massive blockbuster franchise and helped to put the company on the map. It's possible that if P2 was released after Twilight instead of before, they would have been able to promote it better, and it could have been a hit. However, as it was, it underperformed. I won't say flopped, simply because it only cost $3.5 million, and it pulled in over $7 million worldwide. Mix that in with home video sales as well as cable, and I'm sure it made its money back and probably a small profit. With the exception of Silent Night, all the movies I've discussed on this list have been very small, restricted horror films, but this one is possibly the most contained. It's largely just two characters in a parking garage. It was a brave move and one that I feel paid off. With a bad script, this easily could have dragged on, but they were able to add in enough tension to help keep you on edge. The security guard killer is played by Wes Bentley, and Angela is played by Rachel Nichols. They both did a great job. It moves at a very brisk pace, it's never boring, and it's full of some real nail-biting, intense moments. The movie's currently available to stream on Roku and Tubi. There are plenty of Christmas horror movies, so this will probably be an annual addition to the series. Although not all of them are good. Mostly some of the more recent ones, but thankfully there are plenty from the past that need highlighting and or reminders that they exist. Merry Christmas, everyone, and if you don't celebrate, I hope you have a happy Festivus.
I'm pregnant.
I smoke pot.